نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Our respected elder, respected muftis, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have been asked to share with you some of my views on the subject of Muslim unity. And I want to begin by saying that the most important event which now remains to occur in history is the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, the son of Mary, the Prophet Jesus alayhi salam. And unity is the unity of all those who will follow him. And those who will follow him will not be only from the Ummah Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. There are many Christians who will follow Jesus when he comes back. And there are many Christians who will not. And there are many Muslims who will follow Jesus when he comes back. And there are many Muslims who will not. And so the greater unity is what we should be thinking about, focusing on. Not the unity of the Ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, but the unity of all those who believe in the one God and will follow Nabi Isa alayhi salam. That is the unity. And they're not only Muslims. If you do not focus on this event, the return of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, you will be approaching the subject in a piecemeal fashion, rather than holistic, and your efforts will not bear adequate fruit. I hope I have your agreement on that. In Surah Al-Anfal of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directs our attention to the fact that they, the enemy, they are uniting. They build unity in their ranks. Oh yes. While we are eating roti canai and drinking teh tarik, the enemy is building unity in his ranks. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بَعْدُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They are building unity in their ranks. And Allah says, if you do not do the same, if you do not do the same, you're going to suffer terribly. إِلَّمْ تَفْعَلُوهُ تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. You're going to suffer terribly if you do not do the same. And so the Quran is supporting the view. Unity is not just unity within the ranks of the followers of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, the true followers. But you have to unite with all those who are willing to unite with you to build a common front against the enemy. Who are those with whom we should be seeking to unite? From the time we answer that question, we separate the men from the boys. Did you hear me?
Yep.
Did you hear me?
So,
From the time we answer this question, who are those with whom we should be seeking to unite, to build a common front against the enemy? From the time we answer that question, we separate the men from the boys. So let us attempt to answer. We go to Surah Al-Ma'idah of the Quran. And the methodology of studying the Quran is that you do not take one verse in isolation and come to conclusions, but you take all the data in the Quran and you combine it all together in a harmonious and integrated whole. Kullu min indi rabbina. The whole is from Allah. So proper methodology is to study the whole. If you don't do that, you're going to end up declaring Iblis was an angel. Yeah. Iblis was an angel. If you use wrong methodology, Iblis was an angel. Why? Because the Quran says the order was given to the angels to make sajda. They all did it. He did not. So logical conclusion, full stop, that's the end of the story. Iblis was an angel. Now, this is what happens with wrong methodology. When you use the correct methodology, you go to the whole book and you see angels do not disobey. No. Angels do not disobey. Angels cannot disobey. But he disobeyed. So he couldn't be an angel. And then in another part of the Quran, وَكَانَ مِنَ الْجِنِّ. So this is the difference between wrong methodology and right methodology. And Allah taught the lesson right bang in the beginning of the Quran. That's why we have to ask, how come the whole world of Islam is saying that Gog and Magog will only come after Nabi Isa alayhi salam comes? Like a gramophone record, we hear you. Gog and Magog will only come after Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Is that methodology? Where did this methodology come from? From Disneyland? So, we go to Surah Al-Ma'idah now, having left Surah Al-Anfal. And Allah speaks, and He speaks with emphasis, emphatically. Because shakni, لَتَجِدَنَّ. This is an emphatic statement. It is applicable both present and future. لَتَجِدَنَّ. You will most certainly find. What? That those who will be your greatest enemies, the ones who will have the greatest hatred for you, أَشَدَّ النَّاسِ عَدَاوَةً, the ones who will have the greatest hatred, enmity, hostility would be the Jews, Al-Yahud. And this happened in the lifetime of the Prophet, alayhi salatu. And then never happened again for more than 1,000 years. It never happened again. The Jews and the Muslims live side by side in peace, in harmony, until this age came. And the Zionist movement was created. At the same time when the body of Fir'aun was discovered. And now over the last 120 miserable years, we see أشد الناس عداوة الذين آمنوا اليهود. It has now come to pass again. But those who eating roti canai and drinking tea tari, they don't bother about the Quran. No, the Quran is not important. To send your son to Oxford and to the Sorbonne and to get a degree, that's more important than to study the Quran. So if my language is harsh now, you're going to have to forgive me. I am 74 years of age. Only our father here is older than me perhaps. 74, are you older? How much? 60. Oh, younger than me.
Yes.
You younger?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the oldest here now.
For now.
And so I have some credentials to speak.
Sure.
Yeah.
More.
I've spoken softly for too long now. And my patience is gone. Yes. The house is burning down. The Great War is around the corner. They call it the Third World War. But this will not be like the First and Second World War. This will be nuclear war. And this is around the corner. Most likely before November the 4th. Before November the 4th, I expect. The US election, yes. Because Trump poses a threat to them.
Yes.
Right? And we eating roti canai and drinking tea tari. There's nothing going on in the world. Yes. This is the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ today. Around the world you have scholarship at work. Great scholarship at work. Analyzing events in the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ. We're sleeping. I am embarrassed. When I meet with the Russian scholars, I am embarrassed for my own Ummah. Fighting over chicken feed, over peanuts. When the Great War is around the corner. The Jews today have displayed the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility, as they did at that time. And this is what Allah says in the Quran. لَتَجِدَنَّ. You will most certainly find present and future. But Allah says it's not only the Jews. وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. He speaks about a second group. He identifies two groups who will also have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for Muslims, waging war on Islam. You don't need a pair of spectacles to know who is waging war on Islam today. It's not Russia. No, it's not Russia. Russia is not waging war on Islam today. Who is waging war on Islam today? Who invaded Afghanistan? Who invaded Iraq? Who invaded Libya? Don't you have any sense in your head? Can't you recognize who it is? Modern Western civilization is being hijacked. The American people don't control their country. The British people don't control their country. No. You have a powerful clique within these countries who control power. Yes. And whenever they don't have a leader who is submissive to them, they kill him like they killed Kennedy. And that's the problem with Trump. Because Trump doesn't need their money. And Trump is independent in his thinking. Even when he speaks foolishness, Trump is independent in his thinking. Huh? That's why he's dangerous to them. They want to ensure whoever rules is submissive to them. So they control power. And these are the ones who are waging war on Islam. And Allah is saying, you will find this. These are a people of shirk. Where is their shirk? Where is the shirk of those who control modern Western civilization? Where is the shirk? When Allah said to the angels, I'm going to put on earth mankind to function as Khalifa. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa. He didn't say, I'm going to send on mankind, on earth those who will build the Twin Towers in KLCC. Or who will plant corn and wheat. No. He said, I'm going to place on earth one who will be Khalifa. Well then, what is Khalifa? What is Khalifa? He explains in the Quran. He says to Dawood alayhi salam, the Prophet David, I am appointing you as Khalifa, and I want you to rule in accordance with the truth. فَاحْكُمْ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِالْحَقِّ. So a Khalifa is one who rules, to establish government, to establish the state. That is why Allah put us here, not to drink tea, tarik, and eat roti canai. He put us on earth to establish government based on truth. Such a government would recognize Allah as Al-Hakam. In the language of political science, means sovereignty belongs to Allah. He established mankind on earth to establish government which will recognize Allah's law as the supreme law. We're talking about the Quran, we're not talking about the New York Times or Al Jazeera or CNN. Forgive us, we're only talking from the Quran. Those who consider the Quran to be the supreme guide, they'll be interested in a talk like this. Those who have other guides, they don't need to listen to me. No, you don't need to listen to me. When you reach the grave, you know the story. In the grave. Yes. Modern Western civilization came along and said, Allah is no longer sovereign. But Muhammad Ali Jinnah didn't study the subject in Lincoln's Inn. And Muhammad Iqbal, with all his studies, didn't study it properly as well.
Yes, reality.
Muhammad Iqbal, with all his studies, he didn't study it properly. May Allah forgive him. He was a good man, he was a learned scholar. May Allah forgive him. Modern Western civilization came along to say, Allah is not sovereign. You can put mankind on earth as Khalifa, we don't recognize him as Khalifa. The state is now sovereign. Allah is no longer sovereign. This is shirk. Allah could make riba haram, but we can make it halal. Oh yes. And anywhere you turn, you see a bank lending money on interest. And nobody weeps. Nobody cries. Nobody's heart with pain. No. This is shirk. We have a mufti here. We have the teacher of the muftis. If you make halal what Allah made haram, that is shirk. If you make haram what Allah made halal, that is shirk. Modern Western civilization has made everything that Allah made haram has made it halal. There's nothing left now. The last thing was a man marrying another man and getting a marriage certificate. If it hasn't reached to Malaysia as yet, wait, it's coming. And if you don't bow and submit, see what's going to happen to your ringgit. It'll be like the Venezuelan Bolivar. It's coming. But you know, we like the roti canai and we'll take Tariq and go home and sleep. Forgive my language, because I'm angry. I'm angry, yes. Because the house is burning down and the scholars of Islam are sleeping. When Allah speaks about al-Yahud وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا, He's talking about this. He's talking about this. If these are your friends, I don't need you. That's the door. You can go. Don't come back. I don't want to see your face. If those are your friends. If you could go and play golf with Washington. And have dinner with Washington. And smile and shake hands with Washington. Then you say you're my brother? I can't accept you as my brother. No. Because they are the ones Allah is warning about in this verse of the Quran. And my guidance does not come from anywhere, it comes from the Quran. So Allah is warning me about that. But then the verse continues to say, and this is our subject tonight, وَلَتَجِدَنَّ, He repeats. He didn't have to repeat it, but He repeats it. The emphatic statement with emphasis repeated twice, that you will most certainly find. Don't doubt it. أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. Now look at the construction. Nothing happens in this Quran by accident. If you're only reading the English translation and you can't read the Arabic, wait for the grave. Wait for the grave. In the grave it will be like in the courthouse, you know. When you have to give evidence in court, you have to be first identified. So the lawyer will ask you, what's your name? Who's your father's? And then the questioning will start. After you've been identified, same thing in the grave. And after you answer that my Nabi is Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, well then your book is the Quran. So what you're going to do when the angel hands you a copy of the Quran in the grave and says, Iqra, and you look at it, see, can you give me a Malay copy? You have a copy in Malay language? Or an English Quran? What is the angel going to do with you? For this disrespect for the Quran? If you disrespect the Quran, you're disrespecting Allah. And if you disrespect Allah, you pay the price for it. You will most certainly find those who will have the greatest love and affection for you in time to come would be a people who say, we are Christians. Notice carefully, the Quran does not say that you will most certainly find that those who will be closest in love for you would be Christians. It does not say that. It says those who will be closest in love and affection for you would be a people who say, dirty name. They declare, we are Christians. They are proud to be Christians. The primary identity as being a Christian. The Christians of the Western world are secularized. Their Christianity, their religion is for the home, for Sunday morning, for their private life. This is secularization. They don't identify themselves proudly as Christians now. So it couldn't be them. It couldn't be Washington. It couldn't be London. It could be Paris. It could be Bonn. No. It couldn't be Western Christianity. No. But then who is Allah speaking about? The Quran goes on to say, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمْ كِسِّسِينَ وَرُهْبَانًا وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. We are given 4 different means of identifying these Christians. Number 1, they are a Christian people who proudly declare themselves to be Christians.
Yes.
Identify themselves publicly as Christians. They've not been secularized. Number 2, they are a Christian people in whom the institution of the priesthood is still intact. The ulama. The ulama or the priests have a high status. The alim has a status equivalent to Prime Minister and VP. When the alim speaks, the whole people listen. It could be Western Christianity. In Western Christianity, the movie actress in Hollywood has more status. The sportsman has more status than the priest. The priest has no status. So it could be Western Christianity. Number 3, Allah speaks of monasticism, Rahmaniyah. The monastic way of life, the monastery no longer exists in Western Christianity. No. The monastery in the United States and Britain today is McDonald's hamburgers and Kentucky Fried and Pizza Hut. Even the churches are being sold because nobody goes to church. Just do a little bit of research on Britain and you'll see. They're selling the churches. Bingo halls now, the church. The monastery. The monastic way of life has disappeared in that godless civilization. That godless civilization. That you go and play golf with. And you have dinner with them. And you come to tell me you're my brother Muslim. You come to tell me you're my brother Muslim. And I must follow you. Where is the Christian people who still hold on to the monastic way of life? Who still have the monastery? Who still have the monks? Where are they today? Isn't it not time to stop eating roti canai and drinking tea and do a little bit of thinking? This is the Quran. This is the Quran. And finally, وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. They are not an arrogant people. If you want to study arrogance, you must go to أَوَّلُ الزَّمَانِ. أَوَّلُ الزَّمَانِ to get arrogance. When Allah ordered Iblis to make sajda before Adam alayhi salam, Adam alayhi salam is created from mud. He is created from fire. He says, by virtue of my birth, I am superior. By virtue of my birth, I am born superior. That is arrogance. Any people who consider themselves superior to another people, by virtue of a birthright, we are born superior. You are a son of Satan. You belong to the family of Satan. Any people. And that's what they are. Modern Western civilization believe that they are created, born to civilize the world. Imran, Hosein has to be civilized. You don't eat curry chicken or curry fish and rice with your hands. That's barbarian. No. You must have a cutlery to eat. That's the civilized way to eat. You must not dress like this. That's uncivilized. You must have trousers and a jacket and a tie. Then you are civilized. They came to this world with this arrogant agenda to conquer the world and to civilize the world. That's the arrogant people Allah is talking about. So then we dismiss the Western Christians, the Roman Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, all the Christians of the Western world who have this agenda that they are superior, this arrogant agenda. Well then, where are the Christians? They were the closest in love and affection to us at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. When we were being persecuted in Mecca, Allah said to them, go to Abyssinia. There's a just king, Christian king in Abyssinia. Allah would put it in his heart to protect you. And when the Muslim refugees went to Abyssinia, the Negus of Abyssinia, who was not Roman Catholic, he was not Protestant, no. He protected the Muslims. And when that man died, I hope you listen to me, when that Christian king died in Abyssinia, and the news reached Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam in Medina, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam performed Salatul Janazah for that Christian king. If you don't like it, you can complain to him, not to me. If you're annoyed with what the Prophet did, complain to him. He performed Salatul Janazah over that Christian king. And so when you talk about Muslim unity, you are into smaller canvas. It's a greater unity. The unity of all those who worship the one God. The unity of all those who worship the one God and who are friendly towards us, who show love for us. And that's not Washington. No. Who are these Christians who were closest in love and affection to us at that time, and who will once again be closest in love and affection for us at this time when the Jews show the greatest hatred? Who are they? If you don't know, let me tell you. This is the Quran. You must bow down and submit to the Quran. There is a whole surah of the Quran called Surah Al-Rum. Surah Al-Rum. And the word room occurs only once in the whole Quran. Alif Lam Mim. Only once in the whole Quran. And yet the surah is named Surah Rum. And in this surah, Allah tells us that Rum was defeated. Rum was defeated. But Allah says, within a few years, Rome will be victorious. And on that day, when Rome is victorious, وَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. On that day, when Rome is victorious, the Muslims will celebrate. Who is Rome? Who is Rome? At that time when the Quran was revealed, Rome was Byzantium, which had its capital in Constantinople. And the Persian Empire had defeated Byzantium. And because the Persians worshipped the fire, the pagan Arabs identified with the Persians. And because Rome had kitab and prophets, the Muslims identified with Rome. So the pagan Arabs were celebrating when Persia defeated Byzantium. But Allah sent down revelation. Wait, only a few years' time, the tables will turn. And when Byzantium defeats Persia, then the Muslims will celebrate. No? So the Quran has established for all times to come a positive relationship between Muslims and those Christians, which is Byzantium. These are the Orthodox Christians. There was a split in that church, and one side went to Italy and created the Roman Catholic Church, and then Western Christianity. But this side remained faithful. That side had Christmas on the 25th of December. This side does not celebrate Christmas in December. That side is easily recognizable because they have this man with a big beard who comes to the reindeer, the sky, once a year. He's the only one allowed to have a big beard. Nobody else allowed a beard. Santa Claus. This is Western Christianity. But Orthodox Christianity is not like that. Number one, the Orthodox Christians are proud to be Christians. I speak from personal experience. I have traveled to Moscow. I have lectured in the State University of Moscow. I have met with the Russian scholars. I have met with the Russian religious leaders. They are proud to be Christians. My wife and I traveled to Belgrade to meet the Orthodox Christians in Belgrade, in that important part of the world. And they are Christians who are proud to be Christians. Number two, the institution of the priesthood is still intact amongst them. The head of the Russian Orthodox Church has a status comparable with Putin. Number three, they have the institution of monasticism still there. They are proud of their monasteries. The reason why Kosovo is such a difficult problem is because Kosovo is the heart of monastic Christianity. That's why. That's why. They love their monastic way of life so much. And number four, this part of the Christian world never had the agenda to civilize the rest of the world, to conquer and civilize it. They don't have that arrogance. And so the Quran is telling us, whether you like it or whether you don't, this is the truth, that the Orthodox Christian world is going to be the closest in love and affection for you. And as a consequence, unity of all those who will follow Nabi Isa alayhi salam when he returns is unity between that part of the world of Islam. We will reach out for a hand of friendship and love to that part of the Orthodox Christian world. Russia today is leading that Orthodox Christian world. Those Muslims who want to wage war with Russia, who cannot tolerate any kind of relationship with Russia, I say to them, get out of my life. I don't want to see your faces. Go and find somebody else. Leave me alone. I don't have time to waste with you. Because I am analyzing the Quran for you. If I'm wrong, come and correct me. If I am wrong, come and correct me. I must not be proud and arrogant to say I cannot be corrected. Of course not. If I'm wrong in my analysis of the Quran, come and correct me. I pray that Allah may bless you. Before we end, let us go on to another verse of the Quran, in which Allah makes the subject more explicit. We're talking about the greater unity within which is located the unity of Muslims. Okay? Do not study the subject of unity of Muslims in isolation, but rather study the subject of unity of Muslims within the context of the greater unity. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, again Allah Ta'ala returns to the subject and says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who have faith in Allah, do not take, la tattakhidul yahuda wal nasara awliya. Do not take the Jews and do not take the Christians as your awliya, your friends and allies. If you use the wrong methodology, you will end up saying that Iblis was an angel. Alright? So let us not use the wrong methodology. Rather, let us ask the question, is Allah speaking about all Christians? No, He could not. Not possible. Because we were just told that there will be a Christian people who will be closest in love and affection. So Allah could not be talking about all Christians. If He's not talking about all Christians, then He could not be talking about all Jews. Don't take the Jews and don't take the Christians as your friends and allies. If He's not talking about all Jews and all Christians, well then, which Jews and which Christians is He talking about? Don't take them as your friends and allies. The answer is to be found in the words which follow. Ba'aduhum awliya'u, which means do not take such Jews do not take such Jews and do not take such Christians as your friends and allies. Ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd, who themselves are friends and allies of each other. Allah is not saying, He is not saying, do not take all Jews as your friends or allies. He is not saying, do not take all Christians as your friends or allies. No. That is schoolboy methodology. He is saying, do not take such Jews and do not take such Christians as your friends and allies, ba'aduhum awliya'u ba'd, who themselves are friends and allies of each other. The Quran is anticipating. What is anticipating, Bahasa?
Anticipate.
Menjangka.
Menjangka. The Quran is anticipating an event which is to come, which when it comes would be extraordinary, would be mysterious, would be baffling, would be mystifying. How could Jews and Christians reconcile? How? Not possible. Because the Christians worship Jesus as God, and the Christians say that the Jews killed God. You can't do worse than that, than to kill God. That's the worst. So how can a Christian people reconcile with Jews and form friendship and alliance? Pas possible. Not possible. Pas possible. The Quran is anticipating a momentous event which will occur in history, when a mysterious reconciliation and friendship and alliance will come into being between one part of the Christian world, not all Christians, and one part of the Jewish world, not all Jews. While we were having, our Tetarik and Roti Shaddai, you know, that alliance came into being. But the Darul Uloom was sleeping, and Al-Azhar University was sleeping, and they didn't catch that the alliance came into being. It was an alliance of Zionist Christians and Zionist Jews, which brought into being a Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance, which hijacked modern Western civilization. So the British people don't control Britain, no. And the American people don't control the United States, no. They don't control the Congress, no. This is the alliance that Allah is speaking about. This is Western Christianity. The Vatican played the most critically important role. And this happened in our lifetime. In the 1950s and the 1960s. 1950s and 1960s, Vatican II, we saw the alliance coming to be. Those of us who are now my age, it's good at this time to be my age. It's terrible to be young today. Terrible time to be young today. It's a wonderful time to be old today. Yes. وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Allah says in the Quran about that Jewish Christian Zionist alliance which controls Western civilization. Whosoever from amongst you turn to them with friendship and alliance, like Erdogan in Turkey, who pretends that he's a Muslim, a leader who pretends that he's serving the mission of Islam, but is comfortable in NATO, comfortable and supporting NATO and doing all of NATO's dirty work for NATO in Libya. That's what he did, Erdogan in Libya. He's doing even dirtier work than that in Syria today. For them, that's what Turkey do. That's what the government of Pakistan does. The most treacherous government, the most lying government you could find. You cannot trust them in Islamabad. No. They worship the US dollar. They worship the Saudi riyal. That's what they are. Pakistan has never had its own leaders. If Pakistan ever produced a leader that put Pakistan first, they kill him. They kill him. And when the United States produced a leader that put the United States first, they kill him. They kill Kennedy. They kill Kennedy. Those are the... Allah says, وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُ مِنْكُمْ فَإِنَّهُ مِنْهُمْ. Whosoever from amongst you turn to them with friendship and alliance, you belong to them. You may believe you're Muslim, but wait until you reach the grave. Then you know that the Quran is the truth. Whosoever from amongst you turn to them with friendship and alliance, you belong to them. You no longer belong to us. You no longer a part of the Ummah Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. The Saudi people don't have freedom. No. In Saudi Arabia, if you raise your voice against their zulm, they kill you. They kill you. Inna Allah la yahdi al-qawm al-zalimin. Surely Allah does not provide guidance for a wicked people. I think I have spoken enough to demonstrate that the unity that we seek to achieve cannot be a unity with those satanic forces which are now poised to wage war on Russia. But thank Allah that Russia is not afraid. Thank Allah that China is not afraid. Thank Allah 1,000 times that China is not afraid. And thank Allah 1,000 times that Russia is not afraid. They would much prefer wage war on Libya, because you could defeat Libya and go home and have biryani for dinner and go to sleep. But with Russia it's different. This is nuclear war coming. And they're afraid to die. But we are not afraid to die. Did you hear that? They're afraid to die. But we are not afraid to die. That is the beauty of being a Muslim. The beauty of being a Muslim, you are not afraid to die. If millions of us have to die in this war that's coming, so that the oppressor will bite the dust, we don't mind dying. But the greatest thing that we have in our heart, the love that we have in our heart, is that justice must prevail in the world. Truth must prevail in the world. And falsehood must bite the dust. And the oppressor must be humbled. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may put it into all our hearts to love the Quran and to turn to the Quran for guidance and not anywhere else. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا انك انت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين. It's time for salat.